Welcome to my kingdom. You are all going to die. Very slowly and painfully. I normally sleep pretty well at night, actually. I think it's a myth that horror writers stay up writing for the middle of the night and live in dark cellars. But most of the horror writers I've met are actually very ordinary sort of people, because all of our darkness goes into our books. So at night, I sleep the sleep of the just. Well, it's a bit embarrassing since I wrote 12 books about this boy who becomes a vampire because of his love of spiders. But I've always actually been rather afraid of our little eight-legged friends. In the books, the saga of Darren Shan, Darren loves spiders, I know, but Darren Shan, the character, isn't quite the same as Darren Shan, the author. And in real life, I must admit, I've always been a bit nervous of my little eight-legged friends. Although I have to say, I've got used to spiders over the years. I don't mind them so much now, but snakes still give me the shivers big time. There aren't too many, I admit to, but there was one. A few years ago, I was out in Taiwan, and I was doing an event, and a fan asked me what happened to a character called Cyrus that I'd written about. And I sort of frowned and said, "There's no Cyrus in any of my books." And she said, No, there is. I said, no, you must have confused me with another author. There's no Cyrus in any of my books. And she said, no, there is. And she explained which book he was in and his role in the book. And I realised, oh, actually, yes, she was right. So, I normally know more than my fans, but not always. Ooh, favourite smell would have to be some type of... Now, I was going to say some type of food, but it's not. My favourite smell ever is the smell of wooden roller coasters. When I was a young child, I used to go to a place called Margate, which has this really old wooden roller coaster. And whenever I smell a wooden roller coaster these days, that transports me back to when I was 5 and 6 years of age. Well, it sounds odd, but one of my favourite possessions is a bookmark. And it's a very simple piece of cardboard. The reason I like it is I've had it since June 1990, and it's been in every book I've read ever since that time. So for almost 20 years now, this bookmark has travelled with me around the world, from book to book, from adventure to adventure. And so of all the possessions I have, that's one of the things I cherish most. The power to eat as much as I want without putting on any weight. One of my favourite books is a book called Rebecca's World by an author called Terry Nation, who used to write on Doctor Who many, many years ago. And I read it when I was a child and I loved it, and it's one of the books that I can really, really remember very, very vividly. And it has a sort of cult following. I've talked to people over the years and I will meet people who've read it, but it doesn't enjoy the sort of reputation which I think it should deserve. I think we find bits of ourselves in all the books we like. I think that's one of the great things about books, is being able to identify with the characters and seeing shades of ourselves in the characters. Good writers create characters who reflect all of us. So there's no one book where I could pick out and say, oh, that's where I really felt the writer was talking directly to me. But in virtually all the books I've read, all the good books I've read, yeah, I will see bits of myself within the characters. The manual to how to get off of desert islands. No, if I had to have just one book to read, it would probably be Lord of the Rings. Partly because I love them, but also because of the sheer depth of them and so much that goes on in them, that they're a sort of book you can read over and over and still find things to entertain you. Um, I really like characters who really have a hard time of it in books. I like characters who are up against the wall in a way. One of my favourite characters is a character called Jenny Renault in a book called The Chocolate War, who's a boy who's going to school. It's not a fantastical book, it's very, very grounded in reality, but he's just somebody whose life is just against him. Everything he does goes wrong, everyone turns on him. And those are characters I like best. I like the underdogs, I like the characters who have to struggle through the story. Darren Shan. Apart from Darren, Mr. Crepsley in the saga of Darren Shan would be my favourite character. In the Demonata, probably Dervish, who plays a similar sort of role to Mr. Crepsley, although he's a very, very different character, but he fills in that sort of adult role, which I think it's important to have an adult knocking around somewhere in the background. So they'd probably be my two favourites. Lord Lost is the favourite. Obviously, he's the demon with the most depth, most going on. He's the most fun to write about. Although the one who really tickles my funny bone is the demon called Spine. And he's a charming little demon who, he's shaped like a scorpion, but he has a semi-human face. And when he wants to kill someone, he stabs their eyes out with a sting on his tail. When he turns around, spits eggs into the bloody sockets. Maggots hatch from the eggs and they eat the human down to the bone. That always gave me a nice little chuckle when I was coming back to it. Probably sweet and sour Chinese. Jordan. Sorry, Petra in Jordan. I just loved it. It was like stepping into another world. It's a hidden city that was lost to civilization for hundreds of years. There are these giant buildings carved into rock. And it was an incredible place to visit. I just felt like I was on another planet when I was there. Lots of places. Two of the big ones are China and India. They're two of the big journeys that I've got lined up. But there are loads of countries I hopefully will get to go to before the Grim Reaper comes a calling for me. One of my favourite films is Salem's Lot, which was based on a book by Stephen King. It's all about vampires who take over a modern day town. I've lots of different favourites. The Witches by Roald Dahl is one of them. I also love the original Dracula book by Bram Stoker. Ooh, lots of favourite authors. My absolute favourite, I have to say, is Stephen King. I've been reading his books for more than 20 years now, and I still love him as much as I did when I was 10, 11 years of age when I first delved into his world. So he would be my standout favourite. I've always loved TV. When I was young, I loved all sorts of different shows. One of my favourites that I remember from my childhood was Huckleberry Finn. There was a TV series of it, I suppose about maybe 26 episodes back in the 1970s, I think it was filmed, or early 1980s. And I love that. I just watch that all the time. These days, I've watched lots of different stuff. One of my favourites of recent years would have been Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I thought that was great fun. And in more recent times, I've been really enjoying the Battlestar Galactica series. My sort of big ambition is just to keep on writing to as high a level as I can, for as long as I can. I think with being an author, the imagination is endless. There's always new stories to be told, there's always new ways to tell a story, and I just hope that I can keep my enthusiasm going, and that over the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, if I live that long, that I can keep writing stories which are interesting to me, and which are also interesting to other people. My sort of in the grand scheme of things, if I could choose it, I'd die age 120, and on my deathbed I'd be saying, "Wait, I've got an idea for a story." You just have to write. There's no shortcuts, there's no secret tricks, there's no magic involved. The more you write, the more you will learn about the writing process, and the better you will get. It can take a long time. You often have to write a lot of bad stories before you learn how to write good stories. There can be a lot of heartbreak involved, a lot of rejection, but you have to have confidence in yourself, you have to keep going, you've got to accept rejection, learn from your mistakes, and just keep trying to write better stories. All it takes is dedication and the will to succeed. It's not easy, but something you can do if you believe in yourself.